Hello and a very warm welcome back to Tony Northeastern as we continue to build the station South Shields, and we now have some station stuff, and these are Bachmann 1930s and 1940s station figures. So we have the station master there. Looks like a porter there. He's carrying some documents and a bag, and probably a ticket collector, guardsman, another porter with a trolley. I had to paint that trolley, by the way, because it was a horrible dark brown, so I lightened it up a little bit and I painted the wheels. And then we have another porter pushing a little trolley there. So yeah, so things are starting to move along. So what have we done so far? Well, we've got the doors for the main building and the entrances, and we've got the windows. So the next thing I'm going to concentrate on now is the bit I've been looking forward to doing, and that's the booking hall. Big round windows, as you've seen in the photographs quite a few times. So let's make a start on those. We're going to use this photograph as a guide to get the size of these windows here. This is the one I'm going to tackle next, because there's two of these to be made. There's one this side, and you can't see it, but there's one on the other side of the building in the same place, so they're opposite each other, and they'll be shining a light on into the booking hall originally. As you can see, there's no booking hall here, it's all boarded up. I think they were using the metro ticket machines by then, which were further down towards the station. So what we're going to do, we know the size of these windows because we made these already, so we know that these are 34, so I'll zoom the photograph up to 34mm for this window, so we know the height of that. So what we can do now, we can use that dimension as a guide for this dimension up here, and if we put that to the base center on the windowsill and then do it vertically up, that's roughly 32mm in diameter. So now we have the size for this window here. I have drawn up a rough sketch of the window with the hole centers and the drills that I need to do this little window. I need a 3mm drill for the center, and a 2mm just off center, and then a 4mm at the edge of the window there. A spacing of 5mm and 12mm off the center there. So how am I going to do it? Well, the plan is, I have a piece of brass plate here, and I've marked out the circle to the edge of the circle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark this plate out for drilling all the holes ready, and I'll screw this onto a piece of plywood with the plastic card sandwiched in between, and then with that I can then follow through with the drills and then hopefully make the slot and then file it out to make the actual window. So let's see how I get on. Okay, I have centre popped the holes in readiness, and I've pre-drilled the 4 holes I'm going to screw to the plywood. I've already cut my 2 pieces of plastic card, which is 0.4 thick, and for extra protection for the plastic card I'm going to put a piece of cardboard in between the brass plate as well. So I'm going to screw all that lot together onto this piece of plywood. So firstly I'm just going to pre-drill 4 holes. And now I'm just putting the screws in nice and tight, just so I can sandwich it all together. Right, now that it's all firmly sandwiched together, I can start drilling. So the first holes I'm going to do is the centre hole. I'm just using the 2mm pilot to start with. And then carry on with the 2mm all the way around so all the holes are drilled. So that's all the holes piloted for 2mm. So the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the centre one, which is 3mm, and then after that I'm going to go around the whole the outside with the 4mm drill. So 3mm first, smack in the middle. Okay, now the 4mm round the outsides. So I thought I'd check the photograph just one more time. I'm using the older one this time, and I'm just checking the width of that radius there, and it's roughly about 5mm. So I'm glad I've checked it, because I've got to open that hole up to 5mm. Right, so now I'm going around the outside holes with a 5mm drill, just to open them up. Now that I've got to this stage, I've got two choices. I could put another hole in between the outer hole and the middle hole and then file it individually, or I can take the whole thing apart and just use a scalpel and just mark a line and just cut into the hole and just gently file it. So I think that's what I'll do. I shall take these apart now. Right, so I'm now taking the last screw out and we shall have a look. And they've come out a lot better than what I expected they would. I thought the holes would be a lot more ragged, but no, I'm quite happy with them. So the next phase is to cut out the little bits between the holes to give them that flowery look. So here we go, the last petal to come out of this window frame, and you'll have a look in a minute and see how it's turned out. You've got to be really careful with these. Been dead lucky so far. I think these are a lot harder than the windows I've just done. because I haven't made a spare one. Right, there you go. One down, one to go. Right, that's the pair finished, but I don't know if you've noticed there's a subtle difference between this one and that one. Yep, you've guessed it. What I've done is, in the corners there, around that hole, the centre hole, I have just filed the corners off to square them up like it is in the photograph. I haven't done this one yet. So I shall do that, and then we'll see where we go from here. Okay, the next phase is to try and give this window a little bit of depth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out a 32mm circle like I've done here, and then glue it onto there, and then that will give it some depth. And also maybe finishing it off with a little bit of polystyrene round bar to go around the outside as well. So let's see how we get on. Right, so I've cut out a piece of plastic card, 45mm down, 45mm across. I've come down 3mm, and then I've put a circle in. The circle is 32mm in diameter, which should just go around the window, just like that. Now, to cut out the window, I'm using a very, very fine blade, and I'm going ever so slowly, just by pressing it right on the pencil line. And just taking it round a little bit at a time, just trying to keep it on the pencil line. I mean, if it does wobble a little bit on the inside of the line, I can always take it out with a bit of sandpaper. But the idea is, if you take it really slowly, the blade will just find its own way with the pencil line. Normally takes a couple of times to go around. I mean, plastic card's only 0.4 thick, so it should quite easily cut through it. Yeah, we are back where we finished. That should just pop out now. There we go. It's not 100% round, so we'll just go around with a little bit of sandpaper and just take it down to the line where it's needed. Yeah, don't look too bad. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm using some 0.8 polystyrene rod to create a recess round the edge of this circular hole that we put in the plastic card earlier. So I'm just plastic welding it in place. And because it's not under too much pressure, it shouldn't snap. So I've only got this last quarter to do. And okay, I've kept the joint to the top, so that so just mark that, cut that off. Push that back in place. Now for that last little bit you've got to really tease the rod, so try and bend it to make it join nice and neat. Just check, make sure the radius is okay first before we add the... Now I've got a bulge there, a bit more. Yeah, that looks about right. Yep. Maybe a tiny bit more, just a teeny bit. A little bit more. That's better. You can still tease it a little bit and then just do the last bit. Like so. So you got a nice ring around the cut out hole. And here's one I did earlier. And the next bit is to find the center, measure the diameter of the outside rib that you just put on, and then just cut it off. Because this is going to be your guide for when we come to put it into the wall. Here you go. Just got to sand the edges round, get them flush with the plastic rod we've just put on. I have sanded the edge, so that's nice and smooth now, and I have also added some 1mm rod along the bottom and up the sides to the centre of the outside radius. Now that that's done, it's just a case of cutting that piece off and gluing it to the window, and then that's that finished. Right, so I'm just trimming the excess off the base of these window fascias, and now you begin to see what they look like. So what I'll do now is I'll glue these fascias to the windows, and that's it, it's done, because I'm going to leave this back piece on because I'm going to use that to stick to the building when I come to do the building. So this bit will poke through the brickwork, if you like, and I'll just leave this edging on as part of the window for gluing onto the building. Right, so that's the fascia glued to the main window frame now, and as there's going to be a roof across the top of the window, it's just a case of now cutting the angles off there. It still gives me a ledge there to glue to the card. What I'm doing here is I'm just putting score lines where the joints in the sandstone would be. So when we come to paint it, you can actually see the joints in the masonry, if that makes sense. So I'm just scoring away around the outer circle of the rows here, of the center, just putting a line in, using the back edge of the scalpel, and then hopefully with a bit of luck, when I come to paint it and weather it, we'll see the joints in the masonry. So now that I've scored the centre, I'm just going to lightly go over with it with a bit of sandpaper, 220 grit, and I'm going in a circular motion. And let's see if we can, you can actually pick it up on the camera, but you might not be able to pick it up on the camera, I don't know. Right, and so the next thing I want to do is use the back end of the scalpel again and score a line from the outer circle of the centre to the edge of the rose itself. So I'm just going to pull the blade back in a nice straight line until it hits this rod in here. Try and keep it in a nice straight line, and we shall see how it'll look when it's painted. The paint I'm using to paint these is a matte 74. It's a Humbrol paint, and basically it looks like sandstone colour, but once it's weathered, the lines will come through, the ones that I've scored, and you can see that they're starting to come through already. It's a nice transformation now. It's gone from white to, appears to be yellow on the camera, but So I might have to give it a couple of coats, I think, but we'll see. There you go, just make out the lines there now. The paint has gone into the lines, so. Already weathered them using the dark grey wash from Humbrol. I've wiped it off as quickly as I've put it on, and the last thing I want to do now to finish it completely is the edges of the limestone. I want to paint them black but wipe it off just as quickly again. So we'll see how that goes. Just on the edges where sandstone always gets the black as it gets older. Maybe a little bit in there too. Right, I'll wipe it off. Just bearing in mind that this was involved with the fire as well, wasn't it? Just a little bit more in the corners there. Down in there. And the top edge. Yeah, I think that will do. As you can see, the lines that I've scored earlier, they've come through. So it just looks like jointing the stonework, so I'm quite happy with that. That's it. The rose windows are now finished. I didn't think you want to see me putting the glazing on, but all I did was cut it out to a semicircle and then just cut the bottom flat and then just glued it on using some new glue. Same method, using a toothpick. So that's them finished now. So that's all the windows done for the main station building. There's just the sliding doors yet to do, but that will be in the next video, or the next video after that, because I'm thinking about doing the planning stages of the station now, working out where all the walls are going and how they fit in with the platforms, and whether I've got enough width on the platforms or length. So that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and as you can see, Station Master is inspecting the quality of the windows. They're a bit dirty, they've been outside for about 4 months, haven't they? Right, catch you later now. Bye.